Hi everyone, it's Zoe here from Living with a Sleeve. I just wanted to do another one of my live Facebook sessions to talk about how to choose a really good soup. So at the moment, the winter weather is definitely kicking in. We have snow down in Jindabyne, and up here in Sydney, it's very cold and windy and wet today. So I thought, why not talk about how to choose a good soup? So during this session, we're going to talk about how to choose a store-bought soup, and there are so many different options now, which proves, I guess, that in Australia we love a soup. They're great for convenience in terms of taking to work or just reheating for lunch, so you don't really need to think too much. And there are so many options, so you can buy, for example, a soup that you get in the fridge, in a vacuum-packed or a little microwaved pot, and you can buy things that are shelf stable in a can or a carton if it's a liquid version, or a dehydrated soup like a cuppa soup style. There's also some different sort of versions halfway in between at the moment. And if you go into the supermarket, especially in the shelf stable section, there is such a huge variety, so I thought it'd be good to know what to look for on the label. So the big things to watch out for are soups that are either light on veggies or legumes, and soups that are high in fat or salt. So generally speaking, soups are going to be quite high in salt because of the stock, but there are a few things that you can look for on the label to make it a better choice. So the first thing that I would recommend is that you look for something that has got more than 50% vegetables or legumes. So if you flip over the packet and you have a look and you run through the the ingredients list, you should be able to see the percentage listed in order of most prominent to least prominent in that ingredients list. This will give you an idea about how much of each ingredient is in that list. And if it's called, for example, a chicken and veggie soup, then the manufacturers have to put what percentage is chicken and what percentage is veggie. So you might see that it'll say chicken 10%, and then it might have vegetables, and maybe it'll have a mix of vegetables, and it might say, I don't know, 20%. But what you want to look for, ideally, is something that is packed with veggies or legumes, because that's going to mean that you're going to get more fibre. So what we want to look for then in the nutrition information panel is a soup that has at least 2 grams of fibre per serve, but ideally will have more than 4 grams of fibre per serve. So flip over to the nutrition information panel, look at the per serve column. You also, while you're there, once you've looked at fibre, you want to look for a soup that has less than 3 grams of saturated fat. Okay, ideally that's a good baseline, but ideally less than 1 gram of saturated fat. So this will probably knock out a lot of those soups like butter chicken or creamy Asian, which might have a lot of coconut milk in it, or might have be a bit heavier on the meat rather than the veg portion. You also want to look for something that has less than 800 milligrams of sodium per 100 grams. So again, this is a lot higher than what we normally recommend, but for soups, because of the stock that's used as an ingredient, it's a really good kind of first test, really. Does it have less than 800 milligrams of sodium? After that, even better would be having less than 300 milligrams of sodium. Okay. The other thing to think about after a sleeve is what's the portion size. You really want to be thinking about your meals as being around about 1 cup for lunch or dinner, for example. So sometimes the soups will come in really big sachets or really big portion sizes. So for example, if you're going to choose a canned soup, often that means that you'll get 2 portions out of that soup, or 2 portions out of the fresh soup in the fridge. I would really recommend that if you're going to choose a soup, if you can afford it, you go for something that comes from the fridge. It's going to be fresher, it's more likely to have a higher percentage of vegetables in it or legumes. When you compare it to the stuff on the shelf, it's also going to have less sodium too. Sodium is used, or salt is used as as a preservative, and so when you're looking at those shelf-stable options, quite a few of them will be really high in salt, and I would sadly not recommend something like a cup of soup, because that is really has very little vegetable in it, very little protein, and is really high in salt. So I hope that helps. In the next couple of weeks, I've got a guide to choosing a soup coming out and my best soup picks. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, I hope you all stay warm and cozy, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye guys.